Ending. Missing boy Sebastian Rogers' dad vows we will find him. This as video enhancement reveal. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us. That is the moment that Sebastian's mom and stepdad realize he's gone. You go in your child's room, but at 6 a.m., he's not there. Where is a missing autistic teen, Sebastian Rogers? Not only the search, but the heartbreak seemingly never ending. This as Sebastian's biological father joins us tonight and vows, we will find you, Sebastian. Take a listen to his bio mom, Katie Proudfoot.
When I woke him up for school, he wasn't there. I took a second and walked through the house looking for him in case he'd gotten up and was trying to get breakfast or something, because he did that sometimes. About 3 minutes in, give or take, I was on the phone with my husband. I said, I can't find him. He said, what do you mean you can't find him? I said, he's not in the house.
That's from our friends at WSMV. That's when Katie Proudfoot spoke out in the search for her son, Sebastian. Now, let's take a listen now. After hearing Sebastian's mother, Katie Proudfoot, say, when I woke him up for school, he wasn't there. I took a second. I walked through the house in case he forgot and was trying to make breakfast, because sometimes he did that. 3 minutes in, I was on the phone with my husband, Chris Proudfoot, stating, I can't find him. And he said, what do you mean you can't find him? And I said, he's not in the house. The seemingly never-ending search for missing autistic boy Sebastian Rogers is taking a very heavy toll on his father, Seth, who is joining us tonight. And you can find Seth on a YouTube channel, Seth Rogers, Sebastian's father. And I ask you to go visit his YouTube site. Seth, thank you for being with us. The toll this must be taking on you, one dead end after the next.
It's another day. It's just every day. It's another day. Another day I don't have Sebastian. Another day I have to chase down every lead that comes in. Every lead that comes in with us, we make sure that TBI has it, Sumner County has it, but we also chase it down.
Joining me, in addition to Seth Rogers, who is Sebastian's bio dad, Tony Mathis is joining us, who is the spokesperson for Seth Rogers, but also a great, great source of strength for him. Tony Mathis, thank you for being with us. I noticed just then how Seth dodged my question. I asked about him and the toll this is taking on him. And as usual with him, it's all about Sebastian. He completely deflected what this is doing to him and went back to, I got to find my son. I'm getting new tips. I'm following tips. Will you describe what this has been doing to Seth Rogers?
Yeah, Nancy, thanks for having us. He's broken. You know, he can't, when you're riding around in the truck with him, he'll fall asleep. When you're talking to him on the phone, he'll fall asleep. He's worn out. He's mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted. You know, all the while he's got, you know, people attacking him on social media. It's just exhausting, and you won't ever hear
wait a
him.
minute. Wait right there. You know what, Tony and Seth, when I was researching everything I could get my hands on, making phone calls, begging for information, this case, like few others, and there have been others, but the search for Sebastian has turned into an all-out dogfight on social media and in mainstream media and on linear TV. Why, Tony? Why isn't everyone uniting to try to find Sebastian? I don't get it.
Well, I think a lot of the content creators have realized that if there's constant chaos and drama, then they continue to make money off of that stuff. I think that there are a lot of good content creators that continue to focus on the child in the case. But, you know, we try very hard to keep Seth away from the drama and allow him to focus on his son, which he's done a great job of. But again, he's exhausted. He's mentally, physically, and emotionally exhausted.
Seth Rogers, where are the tips coming from that you're describing?
My private investigator has a firm that has a hotline set up. Dog the Bounty Hunter has a hotline set up. And I'm in communication with all of them.
We're looking at nearly $250,000 reward for information leading to the answer. Where is Sebastian? At this hour, we are learning that in addition to trying to find Sebastian alive, there is an alternative investigation going on. And there has to be. Joining me is a very special guest, Dave Moyer. Dave is Georgia K-9 National Training Center instructor for all tracking needs. He manages military contracts. He was a deputy canine handler at San Bernardino Sheriff's. Dave, I know no one wants to hear this, but in all searches for missing people, there are two alternative searches. There have to be. One search is if Sebastian is still walking this earth, and the other is if he has passed on. That's the harsh reality, Dave.
Yes, ma'am. And unfortunately, that is not only harsh, but it's accurate. Now, again, what these dogs are able to follow is the human trail, and that the theory behind that being it's as people are walking away from a location, the dead skin cells, the oils, the different bodily fluids that are falling off their body leaves a biological trail. Now, that biological trail, the theory behind the canines, of course, is that the canines are following that biological trail that the person leaves behind and its natural decomposition. Now, not to be confused with decomposition of any human remains, but this is just the trail itself.
Douglas McGregor joining us. He is the so-called geographic profiler, and that is the name of his podcast as well, who specializes in geographic profiling. Douglas, I want one of two things. I either want Sebastian found alive, or I want justice. There are two alternative investigations going on right now. This case is not cold. Describe the two types of investigations ongoing, Douglas.
Thank you for having me on, Nancy. And like you said, law enforcement will be working on those two investigations, one criminal and one non-criminal. Now, in looking at a case like this, you have to look at possibility and probability, and there's only so many reasons that a child and a child with autism go missing from a residence. And before we attack Chris and Katie too much, most children who do go missing from their home. And when it comes to
hold on just one moment. McGregor, no one is attacking the Proudfoots. Just get that straight. Until I have facts justifying an attack, they are victims, just like Seth, just like Sebastian. Now, what were you saying?
Agreed. I'm talking about the wider social media community. That 45%.
To hang with them. I don't care what a bunch of trolls on the internet are saying. I care about the facts. Now, what would be the two investigations?
Sure. Criminal and non-criminal is what you're looking at. And, when you're looking at criminal, you're looking at the possibility of abduction. You might have a stranger abduction, although Sebastian, that usually happens to younger males or females predominantly. You have the possibility of family abduction. Again, most children who are abducted by a family member are toddlers. And then you have the possibility of family homicide, and for children on the autism spectrum disorder, 90% are male at age 5 to 15. So that's the criminal side that you're looking at, and then on the non-criminal side, the most likely scenario would be a runaway or a throwaway, and the difference there is a runaway the child leaves on their own, and a throwaway the parent has kicked the child out of the home and not let them return for some period of time. And if that's the situation we're looking at here with Sebastian, then any number of scenarios could have happened after that. Lost, injured, an accident. So these are the different scenarios that law enforcement will be looking into.
Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Joining us is another special guest, the star and host of Clutch Them Pearls YouTube channel. An enhancement has occurred on very grainy and difficult to see video. This video occurred around 3 a.m. 3 a.m. just before Sebastian was reported missing. Sebastian's mother, Katie Proudfoot, states that she went into Sebastian's room around 6 a.m. Just 3 short hours before that, shadowy images were revealed around Sebastian's home. Where exactly was it? Was it in the backyard or beside the home, Justin?
Thank you for having me, Nancy. So this was in an area, what they call the common area. There was a car that pulled on the very beginning of the street where Sebastian lives. This individual got out of their car. They walked through the common area toward the home. A few moments later, you can then see there is 2 individuals coming back with flashlights.
Now, what's interesting is at the beginning, and let me throw this to Tony Mathis joining us. At the beginning, Tony, the video was very difficult to make out, but what you're hearing Justin Jensen describe is much more clear. Actually, take a listen to our friends at Crime Online.
4 weeks after Sebastian Rogers goes missing, mother Katie Proudfoot leaves the family home to be with her husband in their travel trailer while he goes back to work around the Memphis area. While Sebastian's father, Seth Rogers, and an army of volunteers continue to look for Sebastian, Katie Proudfoot says she is concerned about leaving, but defends the decision to leave by saying her son could be anywhere and they are looking everywhere. Katie Proudfoot doesn't know when she will return to her home.
That video from our friends at News Channel 5. Justin Jensen, you have obtained enhanced video. Now, could I see that from News Channel 5 again, please? We're looking at video. It's home security camera footage. Justin, if you were looking at Sebastian's home, would these flashlights be to the left or the right of the home in the common area?
It's behind the home. Behind
the home. Okay, got it. Okay. So at 3 a.m., Seth Rogers, there are two people lurking in the back of Sebastian's home. 3 a.m., then 3 hours later, he's gone.
Law enforcement has not explained that video to me.
Let's take a look at the enhanced video. Now, Justin, who enhanced the video?
So one of my team members enhanced the video.
In this video, it appears as if the vehicle is a truck. And it appears as if there are two individuals, a taller individual on the left, a shorter individual to the right, and behind the tall individual. It looks as if the two are carrying a big black bag of some sort. Justin Jensen, could you describe what the enhanced video seemingly reveals?
So it shows that, at least in my opinion, that there is two individuals around the vehicle of some sort. They seem to be around the back of the vehicle, and then it's very short that they are in the back. Later, the one person gets back in the vehicle while the other person runs toward the common area, toward the area toward the Proudfoot home. And then later they back up and they leave the neighborhood.
Listen to this.
When I was enhancing the photos, I could see the differences in the appearance of what looks to me to be a human face. And it looked to me like it was actually a human arm that was draped over the person who was carrying the black blanket, or the perceived person in the black blanket. But here's an example of what I saw. Here you can see the differences and enhancements, and as I enhanced each photo, you can tell that the person's skin stays the same color and the black blanket also stays the same color, so I know that those two images are associated with each other. So as you can see, each time I enhance the photo, you can see that the core images stayed the same.
This from our friends at Lady Freedom's Raw Narratives on YouTube. Can't find him. Where is he? The hunt is on for this boy. Did he wander away from home? Where is Sebastian Rogers? Joining us is Sebastian's father, Seth Rogers. Seth, before we look at that enhanced video again, could you describe the so-called common area beside and around Sebastian's home?
From my recollection, there's some trees and there is a gazebo out there.
I'm curious, who has access to the common area? And that does not preclude an intruder, but who would have access to that? Not only Sebastian's mom and stepfather, but everybody else in that neighborhood, right?
Yeah, it's open. It's all fenced in.
Another theory in the search for Sebastian remains out there. But regarding this that we saw from our friends at Lady Freedom on YouTube, Justin Jensen, you and I have poured over the enhanced video over and over and over. Yes. And it's like an X-ray or an MRI. You need an expert to dissect it and interpret it. As you have poured over it time after time after time, along with Lady Freedom, what do you see?
I see very similar, in my opinion, to what Lady Freedom sees. It appears that there is two individuals with carrying something. Now, what that is, I have no idea. This is speculation, but they are around a car or a truck of some sort. From sources, they say that this appears to be a sedan, in their opinion, local neighbors have spoken out and said. So, Nancy, I wanted to talk about the common area when you was talking to Seth just a moment ago. The common area, it was a term that was first used by a local reporter. All it is a few neighbors' backyards. They're all private property that is just a few backyards. And these individuals were walking through these backyards during the 3 a.m. time.
In the last days, we learn about a tip that was hunted down. Listen.
Dog the Bounty Hunter joined the search for Sebastian in September and immediately started getting tips after adding $100,000 reward money for information. A tip comes into the team about a possible sighting of Sebastian Rogers at a Motel 6 in Goodlettsville. Minutes after the tip is called in, a team of licensed investigators and contractors take action. A boy matching the description of Sebastian is seen walking into a Motel 6 room, and investigators call 911 immediately to get police on the way while the team stands by watching the room.
Seth Rogers, were you aware of the Motel 6 tip?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they tell you when it was happening?
No, they told me shortly after.
What were you told?
That there was a tip. It was at the Motel 6, and that there were people there observing, waiting for law enforcement to show up.
Tony Mathis, what happened with the Motel 6 tip?
As they said, we had a team of people there watching, making sure that the suspected person that looked like Sebastian did not leave or was not taken out of there. Law enforcement came, talked to the family, and turned out it was another similar lookalike, but was not related to Sebastian.
Seth Rogers, you state that tips are coming in every week. What does it do to you to chase down a tip with your team and hit another dead end? How do you keep doing it?
With every tip that comes in, we have to track it down. We won't know if Sebastian's at the end of the tip until we do. The only goal is to find Sebastian.
Yeah, but you see any footprints around it? There was a few footprints in some of the softer dirt headed straight this way on the track that he was running. 1247, what kind of shooters do you wear? Size 10. Well, to any units that are going to be assisting with 1008, please come to 1008 Stafford Court now, please.
When Sebastian Rogers first went missing, tips were pouring in. Footprints allegedly were found. There was talk that there had been the hit of a canine, possibly rendering information. Tonight, where is Sebastian? The search and the heartbreak seemingly never ending as new enhancement of video of home surveillance takes the center stage. Tonight, we learned that there are multiple theories, two in particular, as to what happened to Sebastian. Listen.
There are multiple theories on what could have happened to Sebastian Rogers, but two seem the most likely. One is that Sebastian left in the trash. This is based on a search of a Kentucky landfill where garbage from his neighborhood was taken and dumped. The second working theory is centered around a video showing what appears to be flashlights being carried by what appears to be two individuals in the backyard of Sebastian's home at 3:10 a.m. the Monday he was reported missing. The theory is the flashlights were two people working together and carrying Sebastian to a vehicle 3 hours and 20 minutes before he is reported missing.
Straight out to Sebastian's father, Seth, joining us, and you can find him and the very latest at Seth Rogers, Sebastian's father, on YouTube. Seth, what and when were you told? What were you told and when were you told that Sebastian was missing?
I was told on the 26th when I returned the phone call to Chris.
And you were told what?
That he was missing. That there were police all over at the house.
What did you do?
I headed straight to his mom's house. He was missing.
When you got there, what did you observe?
There were search vehicles with dogs and stuff in them. There was law enforcement everywhere.
What did the Proudfoots tell you?
That Katie woke up and he was missing.
At that time, where was the stepfather, Chris Proudfoot?
From my understanding, he was in Mississippi. Katie told me that when she woke up Monday morning that he wasn't in his room and she can't find him. When I got off of work, I had a text message from the stepfather, Chris, and he told me that Sebastian was missing.
Straight back out to the spokesperson for Sebastian's father, Seth Rogers, Tony Mathis. You know, in order to get a warrant to search a dump site, very often the landfill will just give you permission, but crossing T's and dotting I's, often there is a backup warrant in case they say no. So there had to be PC probable cause to search that landfill.
Correct.
What, if anything, do you know? What led them to that landfill?
Nancy, that was before I got involved in helping Seth, but I just have a couple of responses to that. One, I don't think there is such thing as a precautionary measure to get a PCA to search a landfill. And the other thing that I'll tell you is that I do believe that law enforcement knows a lot that they're not sharing with the public, and I believe they're working very hard. They've got a lot of evidence, and they will figure this out.
Well, I agree with that, but I want to specifically look at the theory behind the landfill search. We all know that for there to be a warrant, there has to be a probable cause affidavit. Law enforcement can't just search your home or your car unless you're taking off in it, or a business or a landfill without a warrant. That's under the Constitution, Fourth Amendment, guaranteed. To get a warrant, LA law enforcement must go before a magistrate or judge. They work 24/7. You can even get them over the phone. There has to be an affiant. Typically, law enforcement, an agent, an officer swear under oath to probable cause that supports that search. The judge will determine objectively if there is enough probable cause to justify invading a person or a business's privacy. So in order for that search to take place of that dump, of that landfill, there has to be PC. What led them to that landfill? To Justin Jensen joining us, host of YouTube channel Clutch Them Pearls. What can you tell us about the landfill search?
So you make a great point, Nancy, right? There has to be probable cause. The only thing that I could think of would be something related to the trash truck that ran on the 26th, Monday, early hours around 5 a.m. The trash truck runs very early in that neighborhood. It is also seen on camera. So, did they see something, coming out of the house? It's, anyone's...
Okay, you know what? Let me follow up on that. Today, Moyer joining us from Georgia Canine National Training Center, former deputy K9 with San Bernardino Sheriffs. I imagine with your experience with canines, you have done grid searches at disposal sites or landfills. Question to you. Before you do a search at a dump, you make sure that the trash from a particular location is at that landfill. Isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am, you do. And it's all about the time on target for having the dogs in that environment, because it is wildly contaminated and is incredibly harmful to the dogs. Not to mention the fact it's difficult to actually find the decomposing human odor there, just because there is so much of it there that is actually naturally decomposing. Everything from Band-Aids to tampons to you name it. There's all kinds of stuff in a landfill that I don't really want my dog walking through. Neither do I want to walk through it, but you do what you got to do when you're ordered to do so. So again, that's one of those. It's an incredibly difficult environment, but having participated in several dump searches over the years looking for homicide victims, it is very, very time consuming, and it is an incredibly intricate process. And
tonight we learn that law enforcement possibly reviewing evidence, footage from the Roadhouse restaurant, video where Sebastian and his mother were eating. Listen.
Security video and still photos taken in the parking lot and inside the Texas Roadhouse show a man in a green hoodie coming in close contact with Sebastian Rogers just hours before the 15-year-old vanishes from his home. Internet detectives and social media sleuths have gone into overdrive trying to identify the man and provide the information to law enforcement in an effort to bring Sebastian home, claiming there is new evidence and a potential suspect.
This video from Night Private Agency. At Night Private Agency. A lot of questions have arisen upon re-examination of the Roadhouse video. Let's take a look at it very quickly. Everyone on the panel, please look at your monitors. First of all, it's been noted that when Sebastian does eat, he seems like he is starved. And interesting, we keep seeing Miss Proudfoot on her phone and looking around. If you stay on her, you will see her as if she's meeting someone and over checking her phone. Mom is looking everywhere but across from her. Now, according to internet sleuths, someone else in the restaurant is acting inappropriately. What does that mean? Video cams outside. Look, guys, look at what's happening. To special guest joining us, Tony Mathis, spokesperson for Seth Rogers. What is it? What is it about a person in a green hoodie that attracted the attention of so many internet sleuths?
Well, Nancy, I think that people are starving for information. I think they were overanalyzing this video. I think we could watch any normal video of a normal situation and find people that don't appear to be acting normal. But we don't believe that anybody in these videos has anything to do with what happened with Sebastian at this point.
Seth, do you believe the Roadhouse video shows anything inappropriate or odd from someone in a green hoodie?
It does seem odd. Law enforcement has verified that individual and their story. I find it odd behavior for anybody to be hiding behind somebody's vehicle.
What was the odd behavior, Seth?
Just being behind somebody's vehicle like that shouldn't be there. I mean, I was raised you would move out of people's way.
Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. One lead after the next seemingly ends up in a dead end. This as demands for polygraphs go on. I know this. I know Seth Rogers has taken a polygraph. Listen, have the two of you taken a polygraph?
I have.
I have not.
Would you be willing to?
I've offered and volunteered on many occasions to take a polygraph, and I was told directly by law enforcement because of my whereabouts, I did not need one.
I understand. Ms. Proudfoot, did you pass your polygraph?
I did.
Do we know to either Tony, Seth, or Justin whether the Proudfoots took a polygraph?
Well, Chris, he said he wasn't going to do a polygraph. He actually said he was going to do a polygraph on your show. He said name the time and place. And then I guess he later backed out and said TBI had told him not to do a polygraph. However, Seth did a polygraph for you on your show. We did email the caseworker on Sebastian's case, is the detective who has been the detective for the last 11 months. He did state, because last time on your program, Chris had said that he could not give you exact dates that he was in the home. The detective had emailed me back and stated that Chris could give any dates he wanted.
And did that happen? Did he give those dates?
He has still not given dates that he was in the home, around the home, from the 1st of February onward until the morning Sebastian went missing.
To Ken Schull joining us, polygraph examiner and former head of the entire FBI program in D.C., former special agent with the FBI. You can find him at Ken at Kendall Investigation, Polygraph, and Private Investigators. Ken, you performed the polygraph on Seth Rogers. What happened?
My questions reference whether or not he had anything to do with the disappearance of Sebastian, and if he was involved in any way in the disappearance. I did the polygraph test, asked all the questions, total I think 3 times, maybe 4 times, and he said no to both those questions, and he clearly passed the test in my opinion. He was telling the truth.
Joining us now, special guest, Courtney Lasky, board-certified behavior analyst and autism expert. You can find her at True North Behavioral Consulting. Courtney, thank you for being with us. Courtney, we are sifting through new leads, new enhanced video, and also looking back at everything we know. Much has been made of how Sebastian may act due to his autism. If Sebastian is alive now, which is everyone's prayer, he may not understand how to get back home.
Absolutely. This case has just weighed on my heart, worrying about Sebastian. I know that from past videos and hearing Mr. Rogers speak, we know that he does have a deficit in that communication and his social skills. And like you mentioned, if he is with someone new, if he is out of his routine, that will be severely affected. And we could see a further regression in those skills. He might not be able to communicate his identity, where he should be, and who he should actually be with.
If anyone believes that they see Sebastian, given his autism, what should they do?
They absolutely need to call in the tip line, call the law enforcement immediately, but keep an eye on Sebastian. Tread very lightly. Don't force conversation. We don't want to do anything that could scare him. Be very calm, collected. Let him come to you if that opportunity exists.
Tony Mathis joining us. Tony, at the beginning, there was information out there that there had been a canine hit. Now we're hearing there never was a hit.
Correct. The law enforcement has come out and said very clearly that they had no evidence that he ever left the home. And that kind of ties into your question about the landfill. I mean, there's not a lot of theories that would follow that up. One of those could be that he left in the trash dumpster in the trash truck, and that's how he got out of the neighborhood. So I think that all kind of ties into the theory, no dog hits, and that there's no proof that he ever left the home.
Dave Moyer joining us, Georgia Canine, National Training Center. Dave, I got a question. If Sebastian were carried to that vehicle, wrapped in a blanket, would dogs pick up the scent?
That's going to be really dependent on how saturated that area is with his odor. Because he lives in the home and stays in the home most of the time, that area in and around the house where he might commonly get out and walk around if he walks down to the street and a number of times a day, any place on that property in the immediate vicinity is going to be saturated with the odor from just his daily activities. So it's going to be very, very, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just going to say it's very, very difficult for the dog to differentiate the odor of somebody. Let's, for the sake of argument, say he was being carried out without any active contact with the ground, to have a fresh trail leaving that area, because his odor would still be there, but it's going to be mixed in with the saturation of all of his other odor from just living in that home for as long as he has.
And Dave Moyer, there was also information disseminated that a trail was followed to a nearby body of water, like a pond. How do we know that scent, if it existed, because now Ellie is telling us there was never a scent picked up by the canines. If there was a scent to the pond, how do I know that didn't happen 2 days before when he was outside playing?
Generally, in that environment with as much contamination, semi-urban, largely populated environment, there's going to be so much contamination that it'll completely obliterate his trail over a couple of days. But let's, for the sake of argument, say that he walked out to that body of water the day before with cooler temperatures in the springtime and a lot of moisture in the air. It is possible that the dog did follow an odor for a previous path that he might have taken.
We're hearing at this hour there is no canine hit at all. So what would that mean, Dave Moyer?
Based on my experience, and I've done literally thousands of these calls with folks with disabilities walking away from a home that they were staying in, it is very difficult to get that initial exit from leaving their immediate vicinity. And the reason for that is because they live in the home, they're walking around in the yard, and it just saturates that area with their odor. You've got to get outside of that immediate area and start to cast the dog out and see if you have any other obvious exits on the street going left or right. Again, with no exits at all, it would tell me that perhaps he's either A, hiding in the home, B, he got into a vehicle and drove away, or based on what we were talking about earlier, it is possible he was carried away and placed inside of a vehicle.
With me is Sebastian's father, and let me advise you how painful it is for him to talk about Sebastian's disappearance. Seth, you believe Sebastian is alive?
Because I have faith that he is. Until proven otherwise, my son is alive.
Seth, what is your message to listeners and viewers tonight?
Keep the faith. If you see my son, or if you see somebody that looks like my son, please call 911. Let law enforcement deal with it. You don't have to walk up and say anything to him. Just call 911. If you know or think you know anything about the disappearance of teen boy Sebastian Rogers, please dial 1-800-TBI-FIND. That's 1-800-824-3463. Repeat, 800-824-3463. There is a $225,155 reward, nearly $250,000 reward for information leading to Sebastian's whereabouts. We wait as justice unfolds. Goodbye, friend.